Boom. All right, guys. AI stocks. Let's get it going. So, AI stocks are moving fast right now, and most traders seem to be chasing a lot of obvious names. And we see a lot more people talk about some of the ones we've covered, but also there's some that we haven't covered at all. No one's really talking about, and I'm hoping we can maybe dive into some of them. That would be cool. We're going to be breaking down some of the most overlooked AI plays to watch right now. And one of them which just ran about 115% recently, was Black Sky. And you might think Black Sky's a space company. What do you mean? Well, they're more actually of an AI company, and they corrected like 25% today. You see them sell off right there. Really interesting to see them sell off. They're an AI company. They specialize in the satellites that they launched with Rocket Lab. Realized my audio was far away. There we go. That they launched with Rocket Lab, and that their software and their satellites is able to pick up different things like different ships, and they specialize in a lot of really cool technology for AI. And so I think the value they're bringing to the world is going to be pretty great. They got some good contracts, a lot of contracts picking up here. So as far as them, correcting, I think it's healthy. It's very good. We saw them correct from up to $29, and they just corrected down to 24, and they were just at 15 the other week. So we'll jump in a little bit there. One thing to start with, and I guess we're kind of starting off with space tech a little bit here, but Redwire is what we were trading this morning, and looks like it's doing well so far. We're up about $1,000 on that trade that we entered this morning. So inside of StockMeet, we were able to really capture some of those moves, but also here, like right this morning, we were talking about it. We've been talking about for a few days about how this move here would make a lot of sense. And I don't mention StockMate just because I'm like, yo, go to StockMate. Although I do think it's super valuable. We've done some studies recently, actually, which is crazy, about some of the people that are in StockMate. And there's a very large percentage that I'm finding that are actually millionaires, which is very good, and it explains why the research that comes out from some of the members inside of StockMate has been so good. There's some really great research from members, and I was wondering. I mean, some of these are really good, finding connections and things like that, and different catalysts, and it makes sense now. A lot of successful people there, and I love to see it. And so Redwire, we see that move. We're going to watch there. Let's jump into AI. So we got Big Bear is definitely a mover today. And if we head over, not semiconductors, over into AI and LLM, kind of want to take a bigger, wide step, big picture. So I'm just going to hide some drawings here, just kind of like eliminate all distractions, and let's jump into BBAI and let's just really take a look here and see what it looks like. So this is kind of the 1 year, right? So this goes back to $1 a share, or maybe a little bit more than that, a little bit less than a 1 year. There you go. And at one point when we started covering it here, it was at $1 a share here. And we saw it surge in that trend through into December up to $4 and into $5. And we entered at $2.80. We've been covering it and holding it since $2.80 there. We rode it all the way up to $10 in February. So this is a big run into February. We saw it surge from what was $3 up until February 2025 here, $10 a share. And we rode it all the way back down in our long-term position, at least. And we've traded the shorter terms a lot. And then we've seen it sold all the way down to $2.36. So below my entry at 280. And then we see it start to recover since April, build a trend. And this is when we started to see some of the serious patterns develop. So the first pattern was this very consistent uptrend, right? So I think we even have the drawings. It was this consistent uptrend where it was just finding rising support. Then we saw it make this trend. It started to continue to the resistance in this trend. It broke out. It revalidated it at $5.60. And then we saw this hyper bull trend where every new resistance was acting as support, right? So this was into basically from it getting into June, and then start of July, every new resistance kind of acting as support. This is where things started to get a little crazy. We saw it break up to $8.28, that high, consolidate from left to right for a little bit, and this is hopefully not looking too. There's a lot of lines. We've covered it, and as we cover it as we go, it like is simple. But when I show it here, maybe this now, if you're just tuning in, it's going to look super complicated, but it's really not. Support and resistance from left to right here, but a greater support and resistance we were watching. And then it's sold off and started this reversal. It was downtrending, and we saw it start to downtrend here, you see. And it was downtrending. We traded it on Monday, so this was Monday this week, up into this $6.80 range. This was a big swing. And it actually broke out of that downtrend here, this downtrend, started to continue up and rallied about 17%. Then we adjusted a plan and we got into it, consolidated some more, and continued up today another, day and a half, another 17%, up to highs of what was $8.38. And it closed today here just around that range, just about $8.20 is where it closed. Currently sitting at $8.22. So now we're at this high. We're watching it. We said this resistance here at about $8 would make sense to watch, which we will watch. And overall trend looks good, but it is at a top. We saw some of the market kind of cool down towards the end of the day, which is quite normal. Portfolio is up about 6.7%, so that was excellent. But what we're looking at too with Big Bear is their upcoming earnings and the value that they deliver to the marketplace, most likely seeing it show up. Some people have told me, Will, they're working with Redwire in the space industry. I think that's something they're starting to expand into, that golden dome. But it's not really a focus, because I think where their CEO is positioned, like Kevin McAleenan in here, U.S. Department of Homeland Security, you got Acting Secretary of Defense or Department of Homeland Security, you got U.S. Customs and Border Protection. So his connections make sense to be fueling what is the deployment of the VeriScan, this technology in the airports. And we've seen it firsthand when we didn't see it in Las Vegas. Are they in Las Vegas? I'm not sure. Let's see. Because when we went to CES, it wasn't there yet for that conference. But when we went to the Space Symposium conference, when we got that awesome media pass with you all, and in that SpaceX sponsored event there, and that's kind of actually where we uncovered Redwire. And you got the next earnings coming out on August 11th. And so as we approach earnings, the question is this deployment. So we did see it in Denver International Airport when we saw it in at that conference. But again, you see Charlotte, you see Chicago, Los Angeles, Montreal, all those there. So this is the theory. Part of the reason why we see BlackRock and Vanguard and these companies continue to invest in Big Bear, and that why we might potentially see a surprise on their earnings, because their revenue was kind of holding and increasing, and now we're saying, hey, we see it kind of continuing up year over year and steadily kind of building, and then their balance sheet becoming more disciplined. Are we going to see them come in with the earnings that would push them into that $50 million to $100 million revenue, which then most likely would say, okay, these contracts we were just looking at and all these deployments of their VeriScan, we're about to see that heat up. So not just that, but because they go directly to the airlines. There's a company, Leidos. I don't know how many of you guys know where you go, and I'm going to pull up the live chat here. You go to the airport and they have you stand like this and they scan you and it goes through. That is a technology that's direct at the TSA. Now, Big Bear is direct at the TSA. I've seen it. But they also are going direct to Delta, Frontier, you got the individual airlines that they're going to in order to go at the gates. And so that's something we saw that I think could potentially be an increase in revenue because they're now working individually with different airlines to potentially be like, hey, you're getting all this passenger info. What if we streamline the process? What if we, make it easier and we give you these technologies that you can put right at the gates? And so far, I mean, we don't know the contract values, but the airports or the airlines are saying, yes, please. That's what we're seeing. So, with the exception of all these charts that are starting to look, I guess, complicated for a newcomer, we see it get to these highs, and could we see a pullback? It's quite possible, but that V shape, that recovery, very nice, very good recovery. So we'll be watching potentially for that continuation. But any near-term trades will have some. Will need some. I was just using this. I know it says down 2,000. This is a profit calculator, and we were talking through today when we were revealing the machine, which the machine is Mercatus, and it has future predictive analytics, and we were talking about the models that we're adding, and we did the reveal, and we did our onboarding today. Such an amazing time. And our customers that are in the beta, we got to talk with them all and really hear. If you want the machine, I would encourage you guys to consider. I don't have a link there, but maybe I could drop it at the end of this. But we are rolling out some models right now. It's the GPT Pro, and we're building into what is this tool that can give you analysis on the day and time frames and what's coming in the future, essentially, for different stocks. And it uses very value-based analysis, but it does all the fundamentals, the financials, the news, the charts for those time frames that you're looking to get analyzed. So anyway, we were talking about what happens if you get into a trade and you actually hold a trade too long and you're down. And I said, well, that's when we come over to the profit calculator. It works both ways. And when we were looking at this, for example, Big Bear AI, the profit calculator, if you're going to want it, it's the first link in the description. But let's say you get in at $8 and it's at, I don't know, 822. It's kind of a high entry relative to what we've seen with Big Bear. You get 1,000 shares, and basically, let's say you're looking for that surge up into that $10 range again. It's about a 25% increase. On a smaller investment there, you're potentially looking at $2,000, which is super, I don't know what I'm saying here. Super cool. But what I'm saying is we adjust our risk accordingly. So whether you're buying at the top, you're buying at the bottom, I'm not going to tell you it's due for a correction. I mean, yes, it's at a resistance. It's at a pretty strong resistance at that. And we kind of talked about the levels. We're still waiting on the financials. It's got a resistance at about 850. It's got to support this previous resistance at $8. So we're going to see if it holds. But basically, what I'm talking about here is no matter what, I don't know, you don't know, I don't think anyone knows. We can find institutional attracting value in the long term. That's why we continue to play out and hold our positions. But when it comes to the short term, really what matters is going to be having your plan and your goal. And so if you want this profit calculator, it works really good on desktop. That's what I programmed it for, but not really for the phones. You can grab it in the first link in the description. It's totally free. You can use it as much as you'd like. Again, it's made with code and there's no internet required. It's you can use it as much as you want, unlimited usage. Like get it, feel it. It's a good one. So anyway, now we're Big Bear. We got some things happening. I'm gonna pull into some other stocks. AMD has been a really interesting one as we see it get back into these highs. Super exciting. Passing that $160 price point today is huge for AMD. And let me pull up the live chat here so I can see. And I apologize how long it's taken for me to pull up the live chat. I wanted to keep the train of thought on track, I guess you could say. So now I'm happy to take a look here. Here we are. Sorry, guys. Here we are. Thank you for your patience. So Biggie says, hey, Will. Hey, what's going on, Biggie? Rodrigo. Hey, Carl. What's going on, Carl? Grow to Sex says, all in. Not sure which one. Maybe it was, I'm not sure which one you're talking about, but love it. Making the decision. Confidence is key, right? I talk about it quite often. It's like if you have a plan in place, the confidence is quite important. Boris says, hello, Black Sky dropped really hard today. Yeah. I mean, again, I got positions in Black Sky. It was funny because it's always been at the top of the watch list due to the gains. And it was at 120% recently. And it just pulled down from like today it was at 117%. And I looked at it year after hours and it was at 88%. And I thought, wow, all right, what a pullback. So yes, we see that. Didn't Will laugh at GLXY and casually dismiss it without any due diligence? I don't think so. Did I? What is it? I know we did an analysis on it the other day. No, I definitely would not laugh at this and dismiss it. Unless I'm missing something. Is there something super fishy about what they do? No, actually, I think we even added this to our watch list over. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what you mean. I think what we're laughing at, I think maybe what we're laughing at is we're looking at Bitcoin miners or something because they do Bitcoin mining. And I think my thesis was how I found it so funny how people are buying the Bitcoin miners. And I find it funny, but also I need to talk to a Bitcoiner about this. But maybe you can fill me in here. What do you think blind leading the blinds? And that just to preface, this is from the user. This is the username 911 COVID Inside Jobs. Okay. Let's continue. So with Galaxy, maybe you can answer this. You can answer this for me. I'm very curious what you think. And I mean this with all respect. And also I'm genuinely curious. If a stock is like based on, let's say, Bitcoin mining, or is based on Bitcoin, something like that, like that they're investing in Bitcoin, like your MicroStrategies, your Hive, or your Mara Bitcoin miner, like those stocks, right? Would it make sense to just buy Bitcoin and just go directly to the source to buy Bitcoin? Like, why wouldn't you just go buy Bitcoin if you really believe in what they're doing? Because isn't like Bitcoin's getting like 40% a year, but it's something that's like everybody knows about, and it's truly averaging that for like 10 years, over 40%. So why wouldn't you? I guess the Bitcoin miners, I'm just not really like thorough on like the value proposition that you're going to get by buying their stock, when we probably are going to be in a similar situation in like MicroStrategy, for example, where when you buy their stock, they then sell it so that they can go buy Bitcoin with your money, or like with the liquidity that you create. They sell their stock and then they go buy Bitcoin, or like, I'm just curious what you think about that. Like why not just, someone says no Bitcoin mining stocks. I think we're in a golden age. I think you're going to see Bitcoin be in another place. I think it's 90% off. Makes a lot of sense. It's kind of like a it's a good way to put it. What's something that's like There's got to be a thing about it. I was thinking like looking at the moon. Like imagine you couldn't look at the moon, and and they didn't let you look at the moon. They only let you look at a picture of the moon that they showed you, and then you had the option to look at the moon. What would you rather do? Like look at the moon, right? Not look at a picture of the moon, because they could change how the moon looks. They could make it bigger. They could make it smaller. They could control it. It's kind of like that. It's like Bitcoin versus like cash. They could print it. We always see it inflate. It always loses its value. Putting it into assets is always going to be superior. We could go deep on the Bitcoin stuff. Anyway, I would love to have another conversation about it. So we got, hey, well, I hope all is going well. He says, thanks for what you're doing. Sending some positive vibes, man. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you. Helios, for someone not asking, not me, if they're late getting in on the AI game, what is a good penny stock to look into and watch? There's been some interesting ones recently. One of the keys I would say is look for companies that are providing value to the marketplace already. I think there's no excuse, and that in a world when there's so many stocks available, that you shouldn't put yourself in a situation where you're buying stocks and they have zero revenue, or they're like investing a ton of money into it, but there's no potential, at least a large portion of your portfolio. Like nothing should go into stocks like that, because 90% of AI companies are going to, most likely we're going to see like hype around them and things like that. Whereas about 10% of them are legitimately going to use AI to massively disrupt or place their, they're going to place their methodologies and approach to business on the one or few outstanding AI companies or models, and then their place of business is going to be like based on the best examples of companies, and they're going to become a winner. But I'll say like 95% of businesses won't do that, and they'll most likely not be around in 5-10 years. Batbone says the golden age. That sounds ridiculous, bud. I have no desire to change your mind, because we're living in it. This is the age that we are in, that human beings have looked forward to and dreamed of for thousands of years. So I think we very well take it for granted right now. Now, when it comes to no Bitcoin mining stocks, people say. All right, so we're going to go over the top AI stocks. Let's take a look. So we got Big Bear AI, AMD. Let's talk about AMD. AMD has made a run up into some levels of this previous resistance here. We're starting to see this previous resistance at $160. Now, I don't think, unless we see a greater market downturn, that we're going to see AMD have a very, very, very strong correction. It's possible, but I think what we're going to see is something similar to what we saw back in 2023 when it made this run up to 227. And again, that's speculation. We don't know. Right now, if it's going to continue some of that run, we could see a sell down as low as 148 or 140 if it corrects for sure at this resistance. But I don't see this resistance as being a total shifter. We're above the 200-day moving average. We're holding above the EMA. We're looking at AMD as, a massively undervalued stock. AMD stock, if you're not familiar, AMD, you might not know a couple things. AMD provides the microchips for the satellites on Starlink that currently are powering this live stream. So you can actually see a video here. I did a full video on this, and it only has like 600 views, which, I mean, that's amazing. Couldn't fit 600 people in this room. But, when it comes to AMD, I think they're super underrated in the fact that they're providing the Versal chips for SpaceX's Starlink satellites, and they're very, very underrated. And if you're not familiar with SpaceX's satellites and what they do, basically these Versal chips that are going in the satellites provide the processing power for the signal processing, communications, and all the control functions. So they're critical for enabling the high speed, low latency internet connectivity. So what does that mean? It means that SpaceX is saying we're willing to go with AMD for the next 20 years or whatever because we believe in them. And thanks guys for having the video there as it shows up on the page. That's really cool. Even with an AI result, that's awesome. Thanks guys. And so, I think that's a big key. The other thing about AMD that most people don't realize, aside from them really driving away from gaming. So Johnny says AMD does a lot of gaming also. They do, but they're moving away from gaming. And so they're actually moving now into super data centers. Data centers is the key. And they've said they're doubling down on data centers. Now, outside of that, we saw that their revenue was like doubling and their stock was selling off. You could see this revenue really just increasing. It's up over, just in that quarter, it was 35% year over year. But if we go back and we look at their revenue, I mean, they're on a crazy track right now, increasing revenues. Balance sheet is disciplined, way more assets than liabilities. And then you look at the AMD acquisitions. So AMD is working to build out their large language models in a recent acquisition of this company, Brium. It's an AI software company. And the reason that that's valuable is because AMD is focusing on now building their own models, like something like basically like OpenAI or what NVIDIA is building over there, or a Copilot. And so why did they acquire Brium, this smaller software company? Because Brium, they came up with solutions such as AMD's Instinct GPUs offer strong performance characteristics, and they did side-by-side comparisons between the GPUs of AMD and the MI300 series and VLLM, so large language model versus SGLang. So basically, or not a comparison between the GPUs, they were running on the GPUs, but basically they were running their model on the GPUs versus SGLang, which is what most large language models run on. And look at Brium, there was way faster response rates, everything else. And why is this important? Like, for example, like I'll give you an example firsthand, right? So, and you say you like the take, but do you think we're overvalued? You say, do you think we're overvalued? Well, this brings us back to probably the mindset bat bones on that you say earlier, referring to the golden age, that it kind of sounds ridiculous. I respect it. I mean, it does, right? There's things like that. But you know what happens is most people don't realize that the market goes up. I mean, the market's where it was for AMD, where it was November of 2021. So just put that in perspective. Like, look at it that way, right? There's a resistance that it's currently at from November 2021 for AMD, for example. AMD has created so much value since then. And that's what people miss. All these companies have thousands of people working in them, creating value, building out the value of the companies, making them serve the world better, and increasing their market share, but also increasing the solutions. Everything is getting better. The computers are getting better. The cameras are getting better. The cars are getting better. The way that businesses run, the way that marketing's ran, everything that's happening now, all industries now, 5 years from now, will be remarkably better than they are today. So, and I believe that's the truth. And that's how it's basically been. And so why does the market continue to surge And people are like, oh, there's two reasons. Number one is the printing of money. All assets go up. That's why real estate's gone up. That's why gold's gone up. That's why the stocks and what's the other one? Bitcoin has gone up. But number two is going to be that they actually are creating more value. They're providing more value. There's utility in crypto, for example. People are sending it. There's real estate. People are getting better at remodeling homes, and homes are getting way nicer. There's all the stocks. People are providing more value, creating better solutions, more software, more infrastructure, more solutions for construction and things like all these things. That's where the market goes up. So I get what you're saying. Like there's tariffs, and of course we could see pullbacks in the market. They happen, and when they happen fast. And when they do, we got to be ready for that. But I feel like that's something people miss. They always think stocks are overvalued. They kind of forget like how much. Just take a look at how much value is actually being created in the world. It's absolutely unprecedented. So something to consider. But what I was saying, so why is SG Lang versus the when we're looking at Brium, right? SG Lang here on the rights, and then on the left you got the VLLM that they're running with Brium here, and why it's so much faster. Why is that important? It's just text like going faster on a screen. Like why is that important for a large language model? The reason is, and I'll give you an example here, Mercatus, the machine. Let's pick a stock, any stock. What are we going to pick? AMD? You see this? Right now, this model is going, and it's going through all the financials. It's going through the filings. It's going through the market data of all the different markets that AMD is in, the financials and everything of other companies that are connected with AMD and their market caps and their growth and everything else, their profits. And it took actually a remarkable, 11 seconds? Something like that, to get this information and give us outlooks on the next few months. So according to Mercatus, AMD recent quarterly earnings have been strong, which is a positive sign for investors. Guidance provided by a company for the next quarter is very positive. And also it's talking about other companies that are saying we intend to invest more in things like AMD and things like that. So why is that important? Because that model took 11 seconds to run, versus what if AMD is coming out with a model here because they acquired Brium and it takes way less time. So again, on the left here, same amount of tokens. So you can see the number of tokens. So like the amount of workload, the same amount, and you just see how much faster this company was. And so basically AMD recently purchased this company. So they're in the satellites and things like that, but they're also building into some really cool things. So Tanet says, Will, please show VUZI in Mercatus. Is it VUZI or VUZI? I would love to. Man, we just did our release today, so I'm more than excited, and I hope you guys are able to experience it. You can go to cash2assets.com/the machine, and I'll leave it here so you get the link, https://cash2assets.com/the machine. And right now you can get a 1-year license for unlimited usage of the models that we're introducing. So like Grok, right now it's just on this model here, which is what model is it? It's GPT Pro, $200 a month normally, and you can use it for all your stock analysis. But there's also Grok Super Heavy Max, which is a $300 a month model, and then you also get like for example Gemini. That's one we're going to be rolling out for the Ultra of Gemini, Google's model. which is, that one's $249 a month. But anyway, it comes out to like around $1,000 a month in models. And we have like, we're able to go straight to the source and then also use our analysis approach with those models. And you get unlimited models for the year. If you're interested in doing it, we're just launching it. So right now you can get a full year license, a 1-year license at a price that is an absolute steal for an entire year. So again, if you want to grab it, I just dropped the link there. But anyway, the stock we were looking at, man, this is really cool actually. I'm so excited to have, this is the first time we've ever revealed it. So I know we didn't do like a crazy something crazy for us to just start using it in videos, but this is kind of the moment, I guess. So it's loading up VUZI right now. And we'll see what it says. But yeah, so basically there's a lot of, I love that Shazzy says, Oscar Health, I see it, Oscar Health, man, I see your message. Wow, so this one apparently is quite bullish. Quite interesting. It says 2% here. What's going on with this stock? Is it fully bullish? Ah, wow. Interesting. Okay. So what is this stock? And then we'll take a look there real quick at the chat tickers there. Love to take a look. I actually look. I wish we got into more AI ones. So this one has seen some manipulation in the past, or at least an extreme surge back in 2021. But it actually looks pretty. It doesn't necessarily look like a pump and dump as much as what we've seen, because the pump and dump is. I mean, that's some serious volume. We've seen it sell off, and now it's here. It's starting to find maybe a little bit of market cap build recently. And it's VUZI. So let me take a look real quick for you. VUZI. Vuzix Corp. It's about a $200 million market cap. Net income was negative there. Revenues have been holding steady around 1.5 million a quarter. Balance sheet is actually quite good. They did reduce their assets significantly. Total assets down. Kind of declining, but they have way more cash than they do liabilities, which is a good sign. So let me take a quick look. VU Zix Corp. Let's see. What is their company? Manufacturers of smart glasses. Ah, interesting. Okay. Dun, dun, dun. All right, I don't really see anything as far as, let's see, partners, Augmex, one that I haven't heard of. Solutions, healthcare, manufacturing, field service. This is actually a really great idea, because like a while back I was building a software for my dad to take pictures of things on sites so that you could get an AI breakdown. This is actually insanely cool. I actually really like it. So pretty cool. Kind of talked about this for a while, that this is the type of tech we're going to see come out. So I'm quite bullish on it actually. So we will but again, I got to look at some of what's happening in their news and stuff. I actually got to get rolling, but Shaz says Oscar. So we'll take a quick look next time, Shaz. With all respect, I really do appreciate it. If you have, because I got Amir here, got some other ones. Just a simple ticker and why you're watching it is helpful. Looks like last time we did it, Shaz, we had it here and we were looking for a recovery. That was the last thing we did. So we're looking for a recovery up into this $23 range, and it had this overall uptrend. So far, it's not really done much, and it's just kind of holding around this level. And we're looking maybe, I would imagine, maybe more of a buy range at this moment. When you looked at OSCR, or yeah, OSCR, their financials of the health company, if I'm not mistaken, they're very good. Their revenue's been billions of dollars per quarter. Very good. Net income positive as of recently. And then their balance sheet has been positive, with their total assets outweighing their liabilities. So very good. 2,400 employees, which is relatively it's relatively on par with the $3.5 billion market cap. If they're bringing in about $3 billion per quarter, they're bringing in their entire market cap per quarter. So just keep that in mind. I mean, that's actually a really nice valuation in my eyes. I think that it would make sense for that move to potentially play out there, Shaz, and I do think you're onto something there. And it's just taking some time. I think it's been a few, or it's maybe just consolidated. Maybe it was back here we did it last, and it like pushed up and sold back down on that resistance. But it's just yeah, it's a longer term play. It looks good. When it comes to the shorter term, it's got those margins to offer. So one we'll be watching later this week, and I appreciate the mention. Thanks so much for sharing that one. And Tanet says, Oscar seems to be very good. Yeah, I believe that the financials are actually very impressive. And they're a relatively new company. As you can see, 2021, they IPO'd and they kind of sold off. Typical of most IPOs. It's like Robinhood. Robinhood IPO'd and just like tanked for like 2 or 3 years before making its run. You know, Oscar Health IPO'd, it just tanked. But honestly, financials look good. Market value seems on par with where they're going. So they got a 59% increase to there. To see that increase, about a 29%, sorry, 109% potential swing up into that $29 range. So very nice call out, Shaz. Ellie, I see Nebius. I'm going to write it down. Let me just write it down here. And I got VOYG with Amir. I see it, Amir. And they're out of Denver. Ah, nice. I actually lived in Boulder, right next to Denver, when I discovered AST and Rocket Lab back in 2020, 2022, end of 2021, no, 2022 to 2024. I lived there in the space scene. And you're talking about Voyager Space, are you not? Is that Voyager? VOYG? That's actually a nice company. They're legit as far as what I've seen firsthand. I had a friend that worked at a space company there in Boulder, and we would drive to work every day. We'd like go from what was Louisville. We'd drive over every morning. Beautiful light on the Rocky Mountains right there on the Flatirons. And I was working at the time, I was working at a institution, financial institution, just for a small amount of time. It was only about 6 months. And I went crazy a little bit, not really liking it. But anyway, it's okay. That's the progress. And he worked at a company, and that was working with AST and working with Rocket Lab. And I don't know about Voyager, but I got to see them at a conference there when I flew into Denver and then went to the Colorado Springs. So overall, I know they're a good company. We'll check out the financials and everything another time, Amir, but I appreciate it. Shaz says, thanks. By the way, I'm 16, LOL, probably your youngest sub. Hey, man, I appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in. I think we can all agree that Shaz is getting a head start. You know, so I think like if you're getting started at 25, you know, you're that's usually the age that people are really, super looking at investing and starting to get into it. And I could say the number one thing you have in your favor right now is to realize that the difference between having a lot or not having a little, or having a little, in what we've seen in society, is that you have a goal. So work on goal setting, like out of school or anything else. Like if you figure out how to set a goal and then create a deadline for it, be super valuable for you as a young man getting into it, man. Goal setting is so important, I think, for something they never teach in school. If like there's financials, there's things like that, but it's like it all comes down to goal setting. Anyway, man, Thanks for tuning in. Tanet, Agoa, you got LTRN. I'm going to write it down here too. LTRN. And we got, so we got BBAI. We looked at it. Black Sky, we looked at a little bit. Dennis, I see sound. I got it written down. We'll do another one. I'm going to try and go deeper on those in a full video. APLD, Corey, we talked about it today in an earlier video, but I got it written down. WKHS, Philemon, thanks, man. Appreciate it. SPCE, financials weren't adding up. Won't be covering that one. SPCE. BZAI, potential. Interesting. I'll take a look on that one. BZAI. I'm not sure about that one. And then Galaxy and Huma, got it written down. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you all. Thanks for tuning in. And I hope you have a great rest of your Thursday. And when it comes down to that Mercatus machine that I was just slightly demoing it slightly for you, those models are rolling out. We closed it last night, but I had to reopen it because we had a lot of interest today. But if you're in that if you want to get into the machine, I'm going to drop the link there. If you're in Stockmate already, check your emails because there is a special discount for you that went out last night. There's like, it's called the 4-hour email or 2-hour email or something. Click that link because if you're a Stockmate, you have a special offer for the machine. If you're not in Stockmate and you enroll in the machine, which is this software, a 1-year license, you get Stockmate as a bonus. Okay. And you get the virtual stock trading system as a bonus. So that's a 6 weeks of Zoom calls that we already did. They were already recorded. They go over entries and exits, all that stuff. But if you're not familiar with Stockmate, this is where our investors are in the group. Seen some really great returns recently. Few notable members doubled their account in the last little while. Live trading's happening in 12 hours. But one of the things we do too is our earnings. If you want to see which stocks are reporting earnings, like we knew TSMC was this morning pre-market. We release this every week for all companies. Monday through Friday, you can see the pre-market and after hours earnings when they're reporting, and notably what you want to watch there. So if you want to grab it, get it as a part of Stockmates, as well as the daily live trading. And that's a bonus for joining the machine. Again, it's the link I just dropped in the chat, or I'll go ahead and pin it there, but you can also find it in the link in the description if you're watching this video later. Right now, it's not there. But yeah, it's in the chat if you want to grab it. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Appreciate you all. Again, have a great rest of your day. Take it easy. And we should end with a quote. I'm going to pull in, let's do Benjamin Franklin. How's that? Benjamin Franklin quotes. Really nice quotes. Let's see. When you're good to others, you're best to yourself. We were talking about this morning. It was kind of the theme of the day. Whenever there's something where it's like you need someone in your life to improve, or something isn't going right in your relationship, something like that, and like at least in my friend group or people I talk with, my immediate close friends and people I'm close with, I'll be like, or even you guys, do this, and I'll tell them, I'm be like, if you work like, or if they say like, what's the best way I can show up for you? I'm like, the best way you could do that is, work on yourself. Like develop yourself, develop your positive mindset, develop your body, your health, your mental clarity. That's the best way you could be showing up for me. And I think that's true for you. The best way I could show up for you is to develop myself, keep learning, keep getting better, being healthy mentally, physically. And so I share that with you so that one of the keys sometimes to show up for other people is to show up for yourself. It's the put on the oxygen mask for yourself first before helping someone when you're on an airplane. It's the it's the classic, you got to help yourself before you help others, and ultimately end up serving people the best when you do. Desi, I see it. You got Desi, says ASIP. Awesome. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I'll see you in the next video.